help and advice on all issues employment-wise. So without further ado, perhaps you can say hi to those watching and give a brief biography of yourself and what you're going to talk about.
Yes, thank you, Phil. My name is Gielie Nienaber. I'm the owner of a company called Untitled HR Solutions based in Johannesburg. Since started the business in January 2006, and since then we grow every month, every year with blessings. So thank you for the opportunity for me to help out and to speak to you guys about important issues, UIF and TERS and all those things. We involved in quite a broad range of products or services that we do. We help out with CCMA matters, union negotiations. We do all sorts of labor things. We do all sorts of bargaining council documents, agreements, and matters, as well as stuff like contract of employment and HR-related things and labor-related things within the scope of the labor law in South Africa.
Awesome. Okay. So we've had a lot of people, and my apologies for my pronunciation of your surname.
No problem.
Being English. So yeah, we've had quite a number of inquiries from people with queries about, for instance, the UIF and applying for any help with that, but also with the TERS system. I mean, for some people, they're not even sure whether the two are related, whether you apply for one and you get the other, that sort of thing. So perhaps you can give us a bit of a background to the two and whether you do have to have, and how each one applies to somebody's business.
Yes. The general rule around TERS and UIF is if the business is closed, and no, let's start the other way around. If the business operates during the COVID-19 lockdown period, generally you're not allowed to claim then UIF because your employees are working either from the office, if you're essential services, or from home where the employee then do the same job than what he normally did at the office. He just do it from home. Generally, that employer is not entitled to claim from the UIF or then the TERS system. Just for clarity, TERS stands for the Temporary Employer-Employee Relief Scheme that was implemented with the start of the lockdown period in South Africa. Now, the general rule is if you don't pay your employees, you can claim from TERS. If you pay your employees if you partially pay your employees, you can claim from the UIF system. Now, the system is very, very busy at the moment. We, with a bit of luck, had some great success in claiming for employers. And it varies between one day that we waited for the money to be in the employer's bank account to, at this stage, a maximum of 7 days. So it looks like, Phil and everybody listening, that the system is working. Now, there was two ways that you can do it. Originally, they started with all these documents that you must fill in, and you must send 3 months bank statements and all those sort of things. At some point in time, they then say, no, we're not going to deal with that anymore. We now got an online portal where you need to apply for your TERS payments. Now, the most important thing, there's two very important things that's linked to the claim from TERS. One being the company must be registered with UIF. Secondly, the employees that you're claiming for must be registered with UIF. Now, we get quite a lot of claims or applications where the employer did not register these employees or her employees, and then the UIF department refused to pay out. So that, in a nutshell, Phil, is how you claim. So if you pay your staff, and you can pay your staff, and they work, you're not entitled to claim from them. If you pay them partially or you don't pay them at all, you're entitled to the money that is linked to the UIF's TERS system.
Okay, so if you are an employer and you haven't, for some reason, registered them, your staff, there's no help at all?
Well, I'm not an accountant, but the best way to deal with that is your accountant should then quickly register that person with UIF.
Okay.
And obviously there could be a back payment, there could be some penalties that you need to pay, but as soon as you're up to date and your employee is registered with UIF, you're entitled to claim from TERS.
Okay. Obviously, a lot of our people in the hair and beauty industry are not working at all at the moment, with no income. So many of them, I would imagine, well, probably all of them, have now laid off staff completely, so that they're not paying them. Is that then covered by UIF, by TERS?
Yes.
And okay, so the employer still does the application on behalf of.
Yes.
Okay.
It's law. It's law that the employer must do the claiming work. The employer must initiate this thing,
Right.
on behalf of his employees or her employees. So if you lay off your staff, they call it a temporary layoff because it's not a permanent layoff unless you close your business. Then, of course, you need to follow Section 189 of the Act, which is a retrenchment process, which is very difficult in a lockdown period because 189 gives the obligation on the employer to consult with the employees. And how would you consult with your employees? And if there's unions involved, you must consult with your union. So a retrenchment during this period is a very difficult thing to do. Now, in the industry where the majority of the people are not working, you put your staff on a temporary layoff. Now, what does it mean? It actually means no work, no pay. That's what it means. And many people don't want to use the words, but it boils down to the fact you can't work, therefore I cannot pay you. It's not the employer's fault, and it's not the employee's fault. So in a way, it's incapacity due to the fact that none can operate. Not my fault, not the employee's fault. Then the onus is on the employer to claim for his employees at the TERS fund and at least get some of the money back. Now, you don't get everything back. And that is unfortunately, the message doesn't go out as clearly as that. Some of the messages that's been sent out in the media and so forth, it looks like you will get everything back from TERS. You're not. You're getting anything between 38 and 60% of the employee's salary, calculated on a maximum amount of 17,712 per month. So the maximum that you can get back per employee is around 6,700 Rand, and the minimum is 3,500 Rand.
Right. Okay. So even if a salon owner is thinking that they're going to have to close the business, they should still, at this moment in time, go through the process of TERS and UIF.
Yes.
Rather than
agree with
just
that.
closing it, so that at least people do get some money somewhere along the line.
Correct.
And then maybe once the lockdown is finished, that salon owner might feel a little bit, more confident, perhaps, hopefully.
Yes.
But I am hearing stories of salon owners just saying, that's it, I can't operate anymore, because their debts while they're closed, their debt is increasing. Depending on where they're situated and landlords and things like that. Okay.
Yeah,
so
you're 100% right, Phil. And it's every business is different. But my advice to my client is also see how long you can hold this, and see if you can get through this period. I don't know how long this is going to be. It could be another month, another 2 months, could be until September. We don't know. We hope that it's not that long, and that the levels get implemented quicker. We are going to level 4 now on the 1st of May, which does send certain employees back to the workplace. But yeah, in your industry, it's not yet that they can go back to the workplace.
Yeah. Okay. We do have a chat area on the, I don't know whether you can see it, Heli, on the, if you go to the bottom, there's at the screen, you'll see the options light up and it says chat.
Yes.
If you click on that, you'll see that we have a question from Miranda Forrester. Hi, Miranda. She's typed out a brief question. I don't know whether you'd be able to say something about that.
Let me just read it. Yes, the question is, staff that are expected to work from home, are they entitled for full pay or only partial? If they work their full hours, let's say they normally work 8 hours a day, and you now as an employer expect from that employee to work from home, nothing wrong with that, and you expect from the employee to work the 8 hours from home, then it's only fair to pay the employee the normal wage or salary linked to the normal 8 hours. If, of course, the employee works from home and the employee does not work the full hours that he or she normally did in the normal environment, then you're within your right not to pay that employee the full salary for that day, week, or month.
Okay, cool. Thank you. There are some other questions that are popping through. There's one from Suzanne.
Yes, I see that. How do I follow up with the TERS UIF? Now, the TERS is an online application. It's we do it. I've got auditors that help me with that. So yes, we help employers to claim from TERS, but there's quite a lot of financial institutions that do that. But you can do that yourself as well. You log onto the UIF Biz portal. And you follow the steps. It's I don't do it myself. I've got financial people that do it, but it's not that difficult to do that. But like I said, even your auditor, if you got an auditor, if you got bookkeepers, financial people in your business, they should know how to do that. And of course, we can help with that as well.
Okay, cool. Excuse me. So the thing that there does seem to be is a lot of confusion about that. I know the government haven't helped because of the different application processes. Is there any support for a self-employed person? Somebody that works from, maybe they are a home-based salon. They can't work, obviously, at the moment. Is there support from the government for them?
Yes. As soon as you registered with UIF and you got an UIF number, you can claim for yourself.
Right. You don't. I mean, obviously, we're employers, so we make contributions to UIF.
Yes.
If you are a salon owner and you have previously made contributions to UIF, but you then register, are you then entitled?
If you registered and you pay your contributions, you're entitled.
Right. But
if you don't, you got a problem. They're gonna bomb you out. They're gonna say, right, no, you're not a UIF payer, so we can't pay out.
Okay.
I see there's another question here from Sarah. She says that once I've applied for TERS, will I be advised if my application has been approved or not even seen before it's paid? You've been asked, they ask you on the application to provide them with an email address. So as soon as the application is successfully submitted, you should get an email saying that your application was successfully submitted, and then you must go back onto the portal, say a day or two later. They will advise you on the portal that it was successful and that there is money to be paid out. There's also then an Excel spreadsheet that they sent to either to the email address or they load it onto the portal where you can download it to see the exact amount that was paid out, the gross amount obviously, and then the exact amount that was paid out per employee.
Okay. One of the other things that people have I've seen on social media is, and perhaps you can clear this up, is people thinking that the TERS payments are a loan and that they have to at some point in the future repay that money to government. Is that true,
No,
false? Just another one of those.
Yeah, TERS is not a loan. TERS is UIF money that will pay out. There is a memorandum of agreement that you must sign where you agree and you give the banks the permission to go and check in that employee's bank account if the specific amount was paid into the employee's bank account. They're quite strict on that. So you get the money. You can opt when you claim. You can opt that the money will go to the employee directly, or you can choose that the money must come to the employer. It's an option that you got. The majority of the employers, in my view, opt that the money come to the employer. Then they got control over that, and then they pay the employee that exact amount. So if you get 5,501 rand and 10 cents back for Mr. A, that exact amount must be paid into the employee's bank account. They say within 48 hours, it must be paid into the employee's bank account, and then you must send proof of that memorandum of agreement as well as the proof of payment to a certain email address.
Okay. So another little query regarding that. If somebody, for instance, has laid off staff but part-time, so for instance, they're only working 50% of their normal working hours, do they then have to, when the TERS money comes in, that's not a subsidy for the 50% that the employee is still getting, that needs to be paid on top of the 50% that the employee pays?
Absolutely.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't write the one off against the other one.
No.
That's quite a strict law. So the best would be, we're running out of time for April because you can only claim for April until the 30th of April, I think 12 o'clock at night. So we're running out of time for April. So my advice would be to employers to claim early in May for the month of May.
Right.
Yes, so you tell the UIF system that I'm claiming for May, and I'm going to pay my staff 0 in May, and then to get that money from UIF in order to pay the employee the amount that comes from UIF, so that the employee is not totally out of pocket.
Okay, because we do have another question from Miranda, who asks, can I register for UIF and back pay in order to claim?
I suppose you can. I haven't done it myself, but you know the rule says that your UIF must be up to date. So if you register and you pay your fees and you pay your there's most probably a penalty that you're going to pay of 10% or whatever the penalty is. I've heard some penalties of 10%. If you've paid that, there's legally nothing that stops you to claim from TERS because then you've paid up and you're up to date with your UIF payments.
Okay, well, I hope that helps, Miranda. And if anybody else has got a question, please feel free to pop it into the text box. With regard to employees who are lucky enough to have a pension paid by an employer, what would happen to that if, say, the employer can no longer pay the salary and obviously can no longer pay the pension? What advice do you have for the employer or employee in those circumstances?
There's various things that can happen. A lot of employers have contacted pension fund service providers and ask for relief for 2 or 3 months. To say, listen, we're not going to pay this over for a period of 2 or 3 months. Can you please freeze it, put it on hold for the period, and then when we finish, we continue. And I believe there is some insurance companies that are looking at that at the moment. That's one option. The other option is to pay at least the employer side over. If there's a contribution from the employer to the pension fund, at least pay that over to the pension fund, and then, or if you can, pay the whole amount over, and the employee's part, the employee can then sign an acknowledgement of debt, sort of, so that can be deducted later on from the employee's pay when everything is back to normal. The best, in my view, is to try and negotiate with your service providers who administrate your pension funds for you, to see if you can get a few months freeze period, not to pay over.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, obviously, talk to your pension provider first is clearly the thing.
Yeah, I think so. Phil.
Yeah. Miranda's added to her earlier question. If I have been retrenched, not laid off, do I claim from TERS or UIF?
UIF.
UIF.
Normal UIF application, you would get a UI-19 from your employer, and your UI-19 would indicate a certain code which says that it's a retrenchment, and you follow the normal UIF claim route for that.
Okay. And then we've got Sarah asking, is there a maximum time to have paid UIF to be able to get maximum benefits?
The normal UIF rule says that you must be a contributor for at least 14 weeks in the last year. I think that that was waived coming to the TERS fund. Right. If you can prove that you've been that you pay UIF and you're a paid up member of UIF, in other words, you've paid up to the end of, in our case now, end of March, you can claim.
Okay.
And nowhere they ask how long have you been paid contribute to the UIF system.
Right.
But in normal UIF claims, I'm not talking about TERS claims, talking about UIF claims, the normal rules would apply.
Okay. And Sarah's also asking, what's the online platform for the TERS claim? In other words, do you have the website address, perhaps?
It's the UIF Biz portal. I don't have it with me at the moment. I can obviously get that, and I can distribute it, and you can send it to everybody.
Okay, we can put that on our social media, etc.
Yes.
Or maybe Natasha could do a quick Google for us while we wait. Let's see whether she can find it. Then we have South African Business with a question. Is HSBC going to claim the months back from us that they froze contributions?
I don't know. It all depends on how they negotiate it.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, we can't help anymore with that one. Yeah. Okay. So I personally don't have anything else that I needed to ask you, Gielie, from the list of questions that we have. But I suppose a summary would be that if your business is struggling, try to avoid retrenchment, rather go down the UIF TERS claim way, which will then help the employees more.
Yeah.
You registered yourself so that you can also claim if you are the business owner. Is there anything else that you think we've missed that we should be covering in this particular talk?
I just think, Phil, that we must encourage employers to claim. because the money is there and the system is working. Yes, it's slow at some times, but you must remember there's thousands of employers that are now trying to claim money from them. So my advice would be, if you try to do it, try and do it early morning, maybe in the evenings. See if you get in faster, but don't leave it. If you can't pay your employees, get money from TERS so that you can pay it over to your employees, so that they can at least, um, you know, have something during this period.
Sure. We do have a couple of other questions that have come in. Miranda is now asking, please advise regarding foreign nationals' delayed payment of UIF, as they have been contributing to UIF.
Yeah, I actually don't know if you're registered in South Africa, the employer, obviously you got a UIF number, and there's foreign nationals that work in South Africa and they've paid contributions to UIF. They should be entitled to claim as well.
Yeah, because presumably there'd be a history somewhere of those payments.
Correct.
Linked to their tax number or what have you. Obviously, I am one of those foreign employees. And then we've got, if my employer has claimed for UIF at round about the 15th of April, should we have received payment by now?
The fast answer is yes, because they say within 10 days. And like I said at the beginning, we had success. We claimed on Monday night, and the money was in the client's bank account on Tuesday afternoon. So that's fast. 2 days, 3 days, up to 7 days is the longest that we've waited for the payment. So my advice would be, if your employer has claimed on the 15th of April already, it was most probably on the old way. Now, when I say the old way, before they started with the BIS Portal online website that Natasha has put on for us now, before they started with that, there was a lot of documents that you had to fill in. You must send 3 month bank statements and all those sort of things. They most probably claimed in that way. And we also had a lot of applications that was done the old way that we resubmitted. So my advice would be that you phone your employer and tell your employer there isn't any payout as yet. Reclaim. Go onto the portal and do it online. Reclaim. That's the best answer I can give you there. And we had some success with that, because obviously some of the clients did do it themselves some time ago already. They haven't received any feedback at all. So we just went onto the portal, onto their area, and we reclaimed, and it was paid out.
Okay. There are a couple of other questions that have come through on the Q&A side. Jacqueline, hiya, and hopefully Helly's just answered your query about applying 2 weeks ago. Still nothing. So as he mentioned, perhaps you need to reclaim if you didn't do it on the online portal. Anonymous is asking, are employers entitled to reduce salaries for a certain amount of time after returning to work? In other words, once the lockdown is finished?
The answer is yes, unfortunately. But you can't just reduce a salary without a process. So let's say we paint the scenario that the lockdown is finished, everybody goes back to work, an employer cannot pay all their staff. Then as an alternative to a retrenchment, there's always procedure that the employer can follow and say, I actually need to retrench some of you, but as an alternative to that, we lower the salaries to a new lower salary. Do you agree with that, yes or no? If the employee says, yes, I'll agree, then obviously the process continue. If the employee says no, then the possibility is there that the employer can then retrench some employees.
Right, okay. Hopefully that would be a last ditch thing. We've also got from Lauren Courtney, this is a question that I probably can answer more. She's asking, sorry, I'm not sure if you mentioned, but when have they estimated that therapists can go back to work and on what level we sit? So Lauren, currently we sit on level 1. So the beauty industry would be the last to go back, subject to conditions that the government have not yet talked about. And we have at the moment no idea of when we move from level 4 to level 3, even, let alone, unfortunately, level 1. There is, however, a move that's been made by the EUHCB on behalf of the industry to try and get us moved up to a higher level. But at this moment in time, we have had no reaction from the government, so we'd have to wait on that, unfortunately.
That's correct, Phil. That's the information I've got as well.
Yeah. Then I think we've got another, some more questions that have come through from what I can see.
There's one
should we still be contributing?
You see, UIF is linked to your salary. So it's 1% employee, 1% employer. So if there's no salary, there's no UIF. So I'm not sure what the UIF department is going to do about that, but it just makes sense that if you did not pay a salary to the employee, that you can't pay UIF. Maybe they will allow you to catch up later when everything is back to normal, but that's the information I got on that. But if you've paid your employees, even you paid your employees 50% or a certain amount, 20% or whatever, you should deduct UIF from anything that you've paid your employees. Just remember that the money that you get back from TERS is a non-taxable amount. That whole amount must go to the employee. You cannot deduct tax or UIF from that amount that they pay out to your staff members.
Okay, and just with regard to that, just to clarify again, it will be a percentage of somebody's salary, and that the maximum is around 17K, I recall. But the way it works is that the more you pay, the more that you would get, or how is this percentage calculated?
The percentages work between 38 and 60%. So, and it's based on a minimum amount of 3,500 Rand and a maximum of 17,712. Now, the 17,712 is not what you're going to get. The maximum is 38% of 17,712, and that is 6,730. So that's the maximum amount that you can claim for any employee. So if the employee earns more than 17,712 per month, you can only claim up to 17,712. And it works like the more you earn, the less is the percentage. The lower you earn, the higher is the percentage. Now, I can't tell you if you earn 10,000 Rand, what percentage are you going to get? That I can't tell you. That's a sliding scale within the UIF system, but it varies between 38% and 60%. Now, some of the clients that we've dealt with got from 38%, and then someone who's earning around 6,500, 7,000 Rand even got up to 54% back from UIF. But then someone that's earning a higher salary, closer to the 17,000, only got 38% of that amount back.
Okay. And then we have another question. Can I loan my staff money and deduct the UIF from that loan when received?
The answer is no, but you can loan your staff money. If you don't pay your staff, but you can't set off the two against each other. But let's paint the scenario. You claim from TERS, you get 5,000 Rand back, you pay the employee that 5,000 Rand. Now you say to the employee, listen, that's what UIF has paid you. If you need any additional money, I can loan you some money. and then you must sign a loan agreement with your staff member. That's now if you can't pay the salary. You can make it a loan, and the staff member then repay you when everything is back at work. You can do that, yes.
Sounds a bit complicated, because if you can't afford to pay the salary, yet you can afford to give them a loan.
That's the point, no? That's the whole question. My advice is, guys, if you can afford to pay your staff at least something, contribute and pay your staff at least something. Don't throw everything overboard and say, I'm not going to pay, unless you can't. Of course, that we understand. But if you can pay your staff something in addition to what they can get from TERS, it goes a long way if you can do that.
Yeah, I assume the question is being asked because if the staff member is not doing any work at all, you know, the employer might think, exactly, yeah. Okay. So we now have Miranda again, God bless her. What is the rule regarding topping up UIF? Is there a maximum? Or rephrase, if I have claimed UIF for my staff, can I top it up, and what is the max?
You see, it's two different things, and you must not mix the two. If you claim from TERS and they pay you, again in the example that I'm using, if they pay you 5,000 Rand, you must prove, and it's very important because they're going to come after you if you don't. You must prove that you've paid that 5,000 Rand over to the staff member, into his bank account. That's why on the application, they ask the employee bank account. Now, you can either say, yes, pay the employee directly, or no, pay the employer, I will pay the employee. And that's your choice how you want to do that. But if you take the option that you get the money, then you bear the responsibility to prove that you've paid that amount over to the employees. It's then your choice if you want to give the employee anything else. Don't call it a top up. I'm not topping up the UIF. It's a total different payment. The two has got nothing to do with each other. If the employer can afford to pay the employee an additional 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000 Rand, then you do that, and that goes through the payroll for the specific month, and the employee pay tax on it, and you deduct UIF and all the normal things that you do.
Okay. So then we've I've got one question on the Q&A side, which is not so sure whether it's a question or a statement. Many salons retail directly to customers, delivering products to their homes while waiting for the doors to reopen. In this way, trying to generate some income. So again, I can probably answer this one in that there are some companies that are doing that. Basically, the salon markets products to their clients, and if they get orders, then they contact the distributor of those products, who will fulfill the delivery, and the salon will get a commission. Not every company is doing this. It depends on the products. For instance, you cannot do this at the moment with nail products of any sort. You can do with cleansers and toners and certain hair products. But again, it's not across the board, and you need to contact your individual suppliers to get some help with that. So I hope that one's cleared that one up.
I agree. It's all linked to essential services.
Exactly. And the only thing we know is that the list of essential services is growing as we move into level 4. Hopefully we will have some more clarity on our industry in the next maybe 5 or 6 days.
I believe there is a government gazette coming out tomorrow. I could be wrong, but that's what I heard. That government gazette is coming out tomorrow that will, hopefully give us more clarity.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have Any other questions coming through? Doesn't look like it. Oh, hang on, maybe one more. So Lauren Rustin says, if your employer applied through TERS fund, how long does that payment process take? Perhaps Lauren came in a little later on.
Let me just answer that again, Phil.
Yeah.
It's they say 10 days. That's what they say. They say it will be paid out within 10 days. But the majority, and to be exact, not one of the ones that we've claimed took 10 days. It's all quicker, between 1 day and 7 days.
Which is good. For,
yes, absolutely.
South Africa.
They work
okay.
around the clock, and they're doing a good job at the moment to try and pay the employers as soon as possible.
Sure, great. One thing I would just like to add with regard to all this subject of whether you can work or not, just to re-emphasize that no salons can open at the moment, no treatments can be done at the moment. Beware of any fake news. There's a lot of people talking about about permits that allow them to work. It is a very easy thing to get a permit, but you have to prove, if questioned by anybody, that you are providing an essential service. And of course, the beauty and hair industry does not yet qualify as an essential service. So do not believe it when somebody says, I have a permit, I can do this. And if you break that, you will be breaking the law and risk imprisonment and heavy fines, etc. So that's my public service announcement. Is there anything else, Heli, that you feel you should be that we've missed out?
I don't think so, Phil. I don't know if you're more than welcome to give my contact details out to the salons if they want to
okay.
question me and ask me questions, and if I can help, they're more than welcome.
Okay, I will quickly add your email address to at the bottom here of the chat.
Yeah, you can use Total HR at mweb.co.za.
Okay, 1 second. Total HR at
mweb.co.za.
Okay, so I've just added that. So if anybody wishes to contact Heli directly, please use that email address. Just leaves me to say thank you very much for the talk. It's been most illuminating, I think. Hopefully we've helped a lot of people. It is also being streamed on Facebook, so we do get a lot of impact there as well. And thanks very much for your time, Heli.
You're more than welcome. I am glad I can help.
Okay, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.